What's your response to what Rex Ryan just alluded to about Tua?
I don't think Rex overstated it. I think you look at it from a quarterback standpoint, you normally would have that opportunity. This is unlike any other year. So now you have limited amount of time, very limited resources to go and deal with an injury of this magnitude on the heels of the other injuries that Tua had. So to bring a quarterback into the fold that early without that type of first-hand knowledge is very, very tough to do. But if you're Miami, and Rex alluded to Miami and talked about the extra picks, if he's there at 5, Miami wouldn't have had that opportunity to take him at 5 had it not been for the injury. May have gone number 1 and would have been obviously somebody you would have had to trade up to get. So if they can sit there at 5 and they feel he's a better quarterback than Justin Herbert, then you take him. The interesting thing here is you keep hearing that they like Herbert. Well, they like Herbert better, and he comes into the process clean, then you would take him at 5. So Miami's got to figure this all out, and obviously the situation with Tua, because of what we're living through right now, makes it very complicated.
Mel, appreciate you being on the show as always. My question would be this. When Rex Ryan talks about how risky it is, I would say I look at it totally differently. My belief is that if you're an executive, you're actually playing with a little bit of house money, whereas the pressure mounts because you've got to make the right pick. If there was ever a circumstance with which you could go to a superior, an owner per se, and say, look, we did the best we could under the situation because the coronavirus prevented us from doing a physical examination and things of that nature and really probing as deeply as we were able to. All we could do was work the phones. We couldn't do anything else because of the circumstances. That might give you a mulligan there. That's my belief. What do you say to that?
Well, I think people may look back and do that, Stephen A., and look at it because of the circumstances, what everybody's dealing with. You did have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of resources to make that assessment, but you also have the opportunity to audibilize to another quarterback. So Justin Herbert comes in without any issues. Jordan Love at Utah State. Joe Burrow goes number 1. So I think it gets down to a roll of the dice on durability. And I think we can talk about the hip. The hip can be 100% ready to go. And you're probably going to medically redshirt him anyway. We don't know if we'll have a season coming up in the fall. But I think if you look at Tua, Stephen A., if you feel that he is going to be a great NFL quarterback, forget everything else aside, put just on ability, he's going to be great. The injury looks like it's going to be okay. Then will he be durable once he's in the league? You can say, well, you can say that everybody, but not quarterbacks that come in with already having injury issues in college. Most of the time, it moves on into the NFL and haunts them. So that's where you have already that knowledge, yet you're taking him knowing there are legitimate durability concerns with a quarterback, a franchise quarterback like Tua. I contend that Miami, Stephen A., could argue that away and say, hey, we took a risk that was warranted because it's risk reward. We wouldn't have had him at 5 had it not been for the injury. That's the only reason why we didn't have to give up multiple draft picks on a team that's rebuilding and restructuring and has needs to fill, and they have the draft choices to do it. You take those picks away and you get Tua. Now you don't have to take those picks away and you still get Tua. That would be the argument I would make if I'm GM of the Dolphins.
Right. Rex even mentioned that a team with multiple first-round picks could take more of a risk in this case because they can also get at least one other high-impact starter, you would think, usually right from year 1, depending on the position you take. But, Mel, what is the feeling now among GMs as it relates to first-round picks? Because we see how valued the quarterback has become, more than ever. They're overpaid compared to every position. You see a guy like Tua, when you hear hip, at first you think Bo Jackson. Oh, my God, how far is he going to fall? I'm thinking, will the Patriots have a chance to take him late in the first round? Even with a hip injury and multiple surgeries, if they see he can move around, people are thinking he's going to be a top 5 pick. So if you took the temperature of GMs, and I know you do often, as it relates to this issue, with a first-round pick, are you generally willing to risk it on a high upside quarterback, or must you get a Hall of Fame caliber player, particularly with an upper echelon first-round pick?
Well, there's no guarantee on any of these guys. And you look back into history with Sam Bradford coming in, still went number 1 overall. Carson Wentz still went number 2 overall. And I can go through a laundry list of other names. And some have been hampered once they're in the NFL by an injury and that you already knew was a durability concern. But to just go back to Tua, man, it's not that you're taking him at 5 and you're keeping the picks. My point is that you don't have to give up. If Tua came into this process healthy, then you would have had to move up from 5. And there would have been no way of knowing if you were even going to get him unless you got to 2, and assuming Burrow goes 1, and to go from 5 to 2 to get a healthy Tua would have cost you some of those draft picks. So you wouldn't have had those picks. You wouldn't have had those hole-filling opportunities with those draft choices to fill those voids at other positions. Now at 5, they get him. He falls in their lap because of the injury, and then they can use those other picks, 18, late first, early second, to get players at those other spots that maybe they would have lost 2 of those picks had 2 have been healthy, and they would have been forced to give up those choices to move up to get them.
Mel, the Cincinnati Bengals have recently come out and say they're not stressing that they can't meet with any player in person. Maybe that's obviously because they have their guy. What is the chance that Joe Burrow would not go essentially to the Cincinnati Bengals? I
think it's a 99.9. If you want to say 100, I mean, how can you not if you're the Bengals? You have a chance now, as I've said all along, to build a third era of a great team. They had the era with Kenny Anderson. They had the era with Boomer Esiason. They had some good moments with Carson Palmer and Andy Dalton, but not Super Bowls. They had the previous 2. Now you have a chance with Joe Burrow to do what you did, let's say, with Boomer and with Kenny Anderson. So I think that because of Tua's injury, because of Chase Young being quiet in those final 3 games, made this decision easy. Why would you want to give up that pick? You say, well, Miami's going to give you all these draft picks to move up and get them. Well, they better give up a lot of draft picks. And why would Miami do it? Because they feel Burrow's the best quarterback and he's going to be great. So if you're the Bengals and everybody needs a quarterback, you're in a division with Lamar Jackson. You're in a division with Baker Mayfield. You know, Pittsburgh's going to figure it out even after Big Ben retires. So I don't think there's any way Cincinnati should give up that opportunity to get Joe Burrow with the #1 pick overall.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.